What's up, everyone? Welcome to the first ever IE Visionaries podcast. This podcast is actually my intention is to be more involved in the Inland Empire where we're from in California. And we're just interviewing some of the most successful, most visionary entrepreneurs, thought leaders, speakers, creatives, musicians, anybody that give us an opportunity to actually get out there and show what people are doing out here in the IE. And today I have the first ever guest, Elvis. What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? First of all, thank you so much for having me. I feel honored that I'm the first person on your podcast. Let's get it.
Let's do it, brother. All right, brother. So you own this facility, which you were walking me through, is a salon, right? The Empire Salons. What gave you the idea to actually prompt to, open up a salon out here in the Rancho Cucamonga?
So actually, there's two owners. There's me and my partner, Adrian. Okay. But yeah, we pretty much started this business at the beginning of this year. And the whole idea behind it was, how do I get into something that mimics real estate without having to go and invest into real estate? Because although that's like my end result, everyone wants to end up with real estate, right? But Absolutely. It's not necessarily where I'm at right now. So I was just trying to figure out exactly how to mimic that business. And that's how I landed in salon suite businesses, where not only do I rent a spot to people that, operate their own business, but also help them scale their business. So it's like a win-win. I've always been one to try to help the next person scale their business or, make more money or get ahead, whether it was through credit, through just knowledge, taxes, things like that. And this just kind of landed and it was the one that took off.
Well, you actually told me off before we even turned on these cameras that you were actually in credit first.
Yeah. The first thing I ever did was learning about credit. Because growing up, I didn't really know anything about credit. I was actually not even born in the U.S. I was born in Guatemala. And I moved here when I was 15. So the whole system was completely different than what I was used to. So I had to learn from the ground up. And after I was 18, I learned about credit the wrong way because one of my friends wanted to go to a rave. And I was like, I can't afford it right now. And he was like, apply for a credit card.
How old were you?
I was like maybe like 18 or 19. I was working at like H&R Block at the time. And he was like, apply for a credit card and, you just finance it. And I was like, let me see if I even qualify. Sent an application and I got approved. And sure enough, I went and got a ticket for the rave. So then I was just getting used to getting things and then financing. But realistically, I was not really paying it off because I was making minimum payments. And after like a couple of years, the 0%, ran out. And I realized I had a lot of debt at 25% interest. Wow. I think I had like close to $20,000 worth of debt, and I wasn't even making $20,000 a year at the time. So I was like, man, like I'm kind of stuck. Sure. And little by little, I was like learning how to fix that. I was like just Googling, trying to figure out how to get out of debt, and I came across a company called I forget the name, but it was they negotiate the debt for you. And you don't have
like a debt settlement program.
Yeah. So you make one payment to an escrow account, and then they negotiate how much you owe. You pay a little bit less, but I did that for like 2-3 years. But after that, I had no credit because I defaulted everything. So that's what I was like, okay, let me Google how to fix credit now. And networking, meeting people on social media, getting scammed a couple of times, paid people to fix my credit, never got fixed, and just rinse and repeat. I was just doing the same thing. And eventually I came across people that were legit, that they actually fixed my credit. And they actually had a course on how to fix credit, how to get access to funding so that you could leverage that to start a business, and marketing and travel hacking. And I had a little bit of money saved. So I was like, let me invest into this. By then I was working at Costco. I was like 4 years into Costco, but I obviously didn't want to be there forever. I always knew that I was going to do something. I just didn't know what. And prior to that, I was doing like network marketing like everybody else. I feel like every entrepreneur has to start with network marketing.
For sure.
But long story short, I paid these guys to teach me, and that was the first business I started. I learned, I was helping people get $50,000 to $100,000 worth of credit cards at 0% for 12 to 18 months, so they could use that to start a business. And little by little, I started getting clients. I made partnerships with people that at the time were selling Amazon stores, which I don't know if you remember that whole era. It was like everyone was making money, and then everyone was getting scammed, and
everybody lost money.
Exactly. So I was one of those people that lost a lot of money in it. And but yeah, like that's the first thing that ever took off for me. I was making the first time I made, like, let's say $20,000 in 1 month. That's the month that I was like, I'm quitting, because I'm making this in a year. Like, worst case, I could try different things for a whole year and I'll be fine. Right. And little by little, just started trying different things. By this time, I already had good credit, so I was like, okay, what can I get into with credit? And researching, like, I feel like every person that teaches you how to get credit cards to start a business, they always end up in like 3 or 4 different businesses, which is Turo, e-commerce, Airbnb, and I think those are like the main 3. So sure enough, I tried all 3, and it was like when it was peaking. So it got saturated. Everyone like started losing money. So I got out of all those, and but it was like a whole like 3 or 4 years where I was just trying to figure out where to put money to like make something last. And it was like internet money. I feel like internet money
comes quick, goes fast.
Exactly. Yeah. So I wasn't really building something that was gonna last. And that's when Empire, was born. And I was like, I want to build something that I can touch, not something that's just online. And I've always been about helping people, either start a business, or if they have a business, teach them about taxes, the little things that I know, or credit, business credit, which is a huge hack. A lot of people don't know that business credit is a thing. Yeah. So I'm still helping people get, access to credit, which is like one of my main businesses, but this is what my what I'm focusing on right now.
Would you say that, like, with the credit space, right, understanding the landscape and understanding like how business even operates was like probably the stepping stone that you needed to open up this place for? I mean, you probably went through a lot of trial and error with the credit space. What was probably the biggest lesson you learned?
When it comes to credit, like, because now I know how to access large amounts of credit, I think the biggest thing is don't go after the shiny objects. Just because you have $60,000 in credit doesn't mean go and invest in whatever sounds good. Most of the time, it's businesses that don't seem as sexy that are the ones that end up being long lasting. Yeah. Because I want to make $20,000 next month because of this Amazon store, or I want to buy a couple of luxury cars, put them on Turo. It's not necessarily the right way. I feel like most people get excited just because they have the funds, and they don't really research what businesses are supposed to, like the ups and downs. What businesses are supposed to not be a fad and just be here to stay. And I feel like when in any market, like, it can go up and down, right? But if you try to stick to businesses that are more recession proof, or they're not necessarily like a trend, you can make good money. I mean, you can still make a lot of money in those type of businesses, but you kind of have to time it right. It's kind of like crypto or gambling. Right. You have to get in at the right time and exit out at the right time as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like the moment kind of thing. Yeah. When you lost the Amazon, what was like the gut feeling that you had about like even business? How did you even jump into another business right after that?
So I was able to so when I learned how to do funding, I couldn't get funding for myself because I didn't have good credit yet. It was being fixed. So I was getting paid large amounts of money because I was referring to Amazon. I was referring to Turo. I was referring people because everyone was coming to me to get funding, but they didn't know what to do with it after. So I established some partnerships, and I was charging people to, help them get the funds. And then afterwards, I was referring them to a business, and they would pay me as well. So maybe in the course of 6 months, I saved like $40,000, $50,000, which is what I used for e-commerce. Lost it all. And by the time that was done, I had good credit. So I was like, okay, what can I get into now? And that's when I started my Turo business. I actually was able to get like 4 or 5 cars within 1 month, listed them all. And was cash flowing really good, but Turo ended up being more of a job than anything else.
For sure.
And I'm the type of person that I want something like, obviously I want to be involved, but I feel like it didn't really fulfill me. It didn't really feel like something that I would look forward to doing. It was more of like, it's going to make me money.
Right.
And I personally want to build something that is going to make me feel good about what I'm doing. And that's why Empire, for example, right now, I feel good about, you know, coming here, like cleaning, helping people establish their LLC, helping people with going with the right person when it comes to taxes, how to save money. Because a lot of entrepreneurs that cut hair, do nails, lashes, all those type of businesses,
right,
they're not necessarily aware of how to properly manage the business. And then, for example, the first year someone goes into this type of business, they make a good amount of money. And then the next year they go do taxes, they realize they owe a lot.
Yep.
And it's like, man, I already went through all that. So if I can save them that error, like, because I already lived it, I can just pass it on. And it's just like one step that I have to, that I feel it fulfills me to know that I could help the next person out, even if it's a little bit.
Because you're helping a younger version of yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when these people that come to the salon, I mean, that do ask you for business advice, what is the first step that you tell them to do?
So it depends. Everyone's in a different step of their journey. There's people that I tell them about credit. They already have good credit, or maybe they messed it up. There's people that don't know how to establish an LLC, so they're operating as a sole proprietor. And there's a lot of risk when it comes to that because you're not as protected, especially when your clientele goes up. I feel like the more money you make, the higher risk you have of people suing you or something going wrong.
Sure.
So I always tell people, open up an LLC, operate your business under the LLC, start building business credit, use the business credit to generate more money. And how do you do that? By spending some money on ads. Ads is something that, you know, you put some money down and it's going to come back to you if you have the right media team, if you have the right content.
So when you think about Empire and you think about where you come from, what part of the Inland Empire are you, like, I guess you call home?
So, like I said, I was born in Guatemala, but when I moved from Guatemala to the U.S., the first place I ever lived in was Rancho. I've actually been here since then. Now I'm 32, and I moved here when I was 15, so I've lived here longer than I lived in Guatemala.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
Time flies by, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So when you think of like the other salons, other competitors and things like that are in your area, what is the most thing that people come to you for? When someone come to Empire for?
You know what? I feel like there are other salon suites out there, but I don't really see them as competition as much as like they do what I do. But we do get some people that come from those places where it's more of a business rather than it being tailored to the individual. Because let's say you work, you have a suite in one of these big. Let's say you have one of those. Hold on, I lost my.
It's all good.
Let's say you have a suite inside of Solar Salon or all the other ones that are out here. Because it is a big business, they're just trying to figure out how to make the most amount of money possible. So they make the rooms very small. None of them have windows. It's very like, let's just put in as many people as we can and make as much money as possible.
For sure.
When here we don't have as many rooms, but we focus on the individual. How can we help you generate more money? How can we help you reach a bigger audience? How can you feel more comfortable operating your business? And I think that's the number one thing that people enjoy when they come over here. They like that we have built-in speakers in the room because they can actually play music, their own music. They like that they have floor-to-ceiling windows, so it feels like they're, you know, outside, inside, not necessarily in between four walls. They like that we have the waiting area, the decorations, the community here, because believe it or not, everyone gets along here. I feel like sometimes there's people that work inside of a barbershop, for example, and you don't really get along with everyone.
For sure.
But here, because everyone's minding their own business, there is common areas, but everyone keeps it civil and, you know, they get along, and it's a great environment.
We recently had a grand opening, right?
Yeah, I had a grand opening for the first location. I haven't had one for this one just yet, just because I've been a little bit busy, but I'm planning on having one hopefully the end of this month or beginning of next month.
Nice. And you said you have a spot like Eye on Riverside, right? Or out more towards that area.
Yeah, because we are getting high traction and we're running ads, but I noticed that a lot of the people that reach out to us, they're mainly in Corona and Riverside. Yeah, so there are, I feel like just the market here is a little bit saturated for salon suites. So there's so many that
for sure
out there's probably not as many. So that's probably why people are reaching out.
And for Empire, what is it? Who's the person you're trying to attract?
For me, the ideal person would be someone who's looking to work in their own space and progress. I don't really want to have people here that are just okay with doing what they're doing, because my goal is to help them, scale their business, like what's next, and help them get there. And then eventually I was telling you that one of the goals that I have is help people here either have a franchise of Empire and they manage it and own it, or, branch out and do their own thing. I always tell people when they first get their suite that as much as I would want to have them here forever, like I'm hoping that they're not here in the next 2 years, because I want them to move forward and do something else for themselves.
Absolutely, man. You're doing big things, bro. Doing big things.
Thank
so
you.
Like outside of the business aspect, what are some things that you took from like your upbringing coming from Guatemala?
Man, everything is completely different over there. It's like,
for sure,
I can't even compare. And I was too young to like be able to process everything. I guess just hard work. I mean, work hard. If you don't like something, change it. Our situation over there was very stressful because the country in general was too dangerous for us to live in. And my mom made a decision to just put us on a plane and move here. And I feel like I've always been, in a way, kind of the same way, where if I don't like something, I change it. I'm not going to be stuck in something I don't want to do. So that's what's led me to, end up here. Like I wouldn't like a job, I would literally quit and get something else. And then if most people, I feel like they feel like they need to be where they're at just because there's no other option, when there's so many options to continue to grow. And that's what keeps me, wanting to improve as well, because I'm not comfortable where I'm at. I guess I'm comfortable where I'm at, but I don't want to be here forever.
Striving for more too.
Exactly.
You say you live in the American dream?
I guess I'm working, towards that. Yeah, I have my own business, so it's like the American dream. Yeah,
absolutely, bro. So when you opened up this place, I'm sure there was a lot of doubt, fear, and like with the first location, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, the second location probably was a bit like no brainer for you, right? Mm-hmm. But the first time when you opened up the suites, what was the ultimate feeling?
When I first decided to open it, honestly, it was a little bit scary, just because I had a media business that failed, and all my income, I feel like last year was a pretty bad year financially, because two businesses that were my main source of income failed. So I got to a point where I was making $0, and I'm like, man, like if I don't do something about it now, like I'm gonna go bankrupt, or I'm gonna have to figure out what to do. And thank God I ran into Adrian, which I had already been talking to Adrian about starting a business one day. And
your
that
partner,
was just
right?
my partner. And that was just like the what fire started it all. I was like, hey bro, if you're going to do something, we're going to do it now. And it just so happened that we were at the right place at the right time, and started researching. I didn't really feel like it was like a risk at all, because I already knew it was going to work. It was just a scary place to be in, because I didn't know where I was going to get my next dollar. I didn't know what was going to happen next. But, thank God everything took off, and it's barely the beginning stages. This is the second location, but I feel like still part of the first, because they're next door. But I feel like with the vision that we have, this is just like the very, very beginning.
Nice, man. I can totally relate to failed businesses. Yeah. I actually had a suite out in Rancho Cucamonga by right behind the TJ Maxx.
Okay.
And I had a similar kind of like layout, and then in the back was kind of like a warehouse, right? And like a pool garage. I had like a creative studio. But it was one of my first businesses. I was like 22, 23, somewhere around there. a long time ago. But I was young and like thinking that I could do things on my own. I came from a print background, and I was being mentored by the owner, and it was kind of like his idea to take me to under his wing and eventually buy the business from him. I learned a lot about business, a lot about finance, about sales in general, and just honestly building relationships with local business owners. But it was something I like saw myself doing.
Yeah.
I saw myself, one, I was a musician first. Two, I was like, oh, I want to build something for myself. And I'm sure you've felt the same way, right? Always want to do something, build something, move like a movement or some kind of, which is what we're doing here, right? We're taking the first steps on doing that.
Of course.
But it's like, I was still very naive to like all the things that go into business, right? And so when I opened up shop, I quickly closed shop because I didn't know too much about the credit, like needed business credit, and even if it's personal credit, just need some kind of line of, income coming in. Definitely how to manage people, how to manage, your own clients, and also being the manager, operator, executive, or whatever it is, all those things together, salesman, doing it for yourself. And I just quickly fell flat on my face. But it was definitely a learning experience that, took me to where, I am now. And, we're sitting here, and it is because it kind of brings back memories of like a lot of similar, aesthetic and things like that. But I'm sure like when you, the first business you felt, you know exactly what I'm talking about, that gut feeling of like your back's against the wall, and like you have that pitting deep down, like you feel like you don't want to do it, like go into it, because you feel like you have some PTSD behind like a failed business. Yeah. But just getting through it is really what like separates the men from the boys.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for me is too that every business that I start previously, I had to rely on other people. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things when it comes to starting a business. Like, you have to get your hands dirty. You have to be the one that, is out there doing the work. Because for the most part, at least in my experience, I would always pay someone to do something for me and expect a return. And that always took me to failures. Whether it was the media business, whether it was Amazon, whatever it was, like I would always have people that I trusted and paid them to get me something back. And every time I fail, I try to, learn from that experience. And I feel like that was a pattern that I found, that every time I would, trust other people to do the work, it was almost guaranteed that I was going to fail. And this time from the beginning, very beginning, me and Adrian have been the ones that do all the work in here. And sure enough, within 3-4 months, it's already up and running. And, thank God that it's, where it's at now.
Sure.
But I feel like when it comes to going into business, you have to be the one that gets his hands dirty in the beginning, and eventually obviously delegate and, expand. But everyone has to start from the very beginning, even in business. And most people that, especially with credit, they're like, yo, like I want to pay someone to give me a return. And it's just like too risky. A lot of things can go wrong. And
for sure,
for even yourself, like, you had your fair share of failures, but I'm sure it always knocks on your door whenever you trust other people to, or you maybe don't trust other people to run your business. And it's just a lot of things that go into business, but I feel like that's a key component, like having to be accountable for everything that's going on. Whether it's a good or a bad thing, it's your fault. And
it's your baby, it's like you trust it.
Yeah.
It's like, would you trust your baby in somebody else's hands?
Exactly.
But at some point you do have to trust. And, you don't trust like blindly, but you do put parameters, systems in place so that you can, at least feel good about the management. Of course, like I'm pretty sure, like you probably had people come through here, like, promising the world, and, and then it's like, they don't deliver. And it's like, you hire fast and, and fire faster kind of mentality, with kind of you were talking about the media business. Tell me a little bit about that.
It just happened very quickly. At the beginning of last year, it was, I partnered up with a guy that was already shooting my content for years. And because I got into content pretty early in my business journey, because that's how I would get leads to get funding, credit repair, all that. It was through social media. So I got exposed to social media very early in my journey. And yeah, I mean, I don't really want to focus too much on that story just because like I don't want to feed into it. But pretty much like, yeah, I partnered up with someone who was a killer for the service in particular, and I'm good at sales. So I scaled the business by selling it, but it was just, I know how to sell. I don't really know how to edit or shoot. So that was another thing. Like I partnered up with someone who I couldn't really do much of the work. So it was just a pattern that I should have foreseen, where it was like, this is not going to take me anywhere because I'm not really involved in the business. I'm just selling the business. Yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much as far as like, I already knew that it was not a good idea because of that.
Well, let's talk about the good things, man. I mean, you got a space, you got your second location. Now you're looking at your third location. You know, you said you got a baby on the way. Congrats.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you got like, you know, you got all the things that, you know, probably your younger version of yourself was like, wouldn't believe that you would have this. Right. And so now, like, looking forward into the future, you know, as you see for yourself and maybe for your family, like what is your vision?
It changes all the time, man. But yeah, you mentioned that the things that I have now is like what I would have wished and hoped to have when I was younger. And it's crazy because you actually have to sit back and look at the bigger picture. I don't consider myself to be successful. I feel like I'm just working towards, you know, being happy. But when in retrospect, like, yeah, a lot of the things that I have now or that I do now, I was looking forward to doing that when I was like even 3-4 years ago. So it's like sometimes like your life changes and you're just, because it's happening to you right now, you don't sit back and like, you're like, damn, like I wanted to do that and now I'm doing it. But yeah, it's a crazy thought. But as far as vision for where we're at now, I feel like there's so many things that I want to do. Me and my partner have talked about so many different projects. Like a podcast is one of them. Maybe it's something that we could partner up with and do.
Yes, sir.
We want to open up gyms. We want to open up like pretty much everything that's a part of my life now. I want to dip my fingers into it with Empire. Yeah. So I want it to be kind of like Virgin Atlantic, where it's like, or Virgin, which like they own a bunch of different things. That's what I want Empire to be. And along the way, help everyone that comes into contact with us, whether it's through a referral or to advice or through advice, I mean, or in any way that we could help them, you know, get ahead and build a community of people that are, you know, trying to help each other out.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a good thing to think in those terms because, you know, you never know. I mean, you know, maybe you are the next Virgin, you know, Atlantic.
Who knows?
Who knows? But it's dope that there's the place like this that people can come to, you know, and even having, because you're building little empires within this empire. If you think about it, like everybody that has a space within here is an opportunity to experience entrepreneurship, experience like being a business owner. And, you know, not everybody has that opportunity. You know, everybody is looking, like we here at Visionx Media, Visionaries, you know, we think for ourselves, not just for vanity, but for our families, for our closest friends, our community, and we're trying to build that within. You know, we've done it. We've done a lot of great work in other parts of the world, and now coming back home, you know, that's kind of the vision for us too. Is like we want to be able to touch people's lives and have an impact through storytelling, through you know, means of growth, of marketing. You know, we've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, and we want to be able to, you know, take those secrets and bring it back here. You know, there's so many things that, you know, we can expand upon in this region, you know, of, you know, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to how to, you know, run a successful business, how to fail quickly so you can, you know, grow faster. And there's a lot on the horizon, but, you know, the fact that you have a facility and you know, not just one, but two, you know, and not being a third one coming along the way, you know, everybody's going to have the opportunity through these doors to experience what it's like to be in your shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, in a way, yeah, I feel like slowly everything is merging to either have your own business or get left behind, because I feel like with AI advancing, soon they're going to get rid of a bunch of jobs, and it's always the service-based businesses that are always going to be there.
Absolutely. Relationships is so key.
Exactly. And that's what we're building here. And you hit the nail right on the head with the empire. That's what we want to build. You know, build my empire and then help you build yours.
I like that. The tagline.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Well, man, I know we just met, like, for the first time. We're actually meeting for the first time. But, you know, thank you for being a part of this venture that we're on, being the first guest. There's so many things that, you know, we can do with this podcast, and, you know, gladly help you with yours too, and, you know, see what we could do outside of that. One thing before we go, you were talking about doing events, but what is the vision behind that?
So I'm pretty big on networking, just because I personally have made it to where I'm at now because I've networked. And I feel like you can go to an event and meet someone that can help you get to the next level. Whether you're just getting started or pretty advanced in your business journey, there's always someone that could help you excel or get better, or, you know, get your result or a client. So no matter what industry you're in, I feel like it's super, super important for you to go out and network, meet people, especially in your area. If you're looking to build within your city, it's key that you're out there shaking hands, meeting people, and putting your name out there. Like you said, I want to... Actually, last year I was hosting events once a month for almost all year. I think I missed 1 or 2 months, but I want to bring that back up and start hosting networking events here in the Inland Empire, at least once a month for as long as I can.
Awesome, man. So before we go, where can people find you? Where can people find Empire?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Elvis Somoza, and my Instagram for Empire is Empire Luxe Suites. I think we're only on Instagram right now. We're going to be on TikTok soon, so stay tuned for that one.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us here at Visionaries, IE Visionaries. If you have any questions for Elvis here, leave a comment down below. Make sure you follow him. Make sure that you follow and subscribe to this channel. We are looking to do so much in the Inland Empire and beyond. Who knows? Maybe OC Empire, maybe OC Visionaries, OC LA Visionaries. Who knows? But anyway, the idea is that we're trying to expand upon everybody's vision within this region. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you in the next one.